Oh my gosh. Oh, my head. Okay. So, I just got done. Oh my gosh. I just got done watching Godzilla minus one. Oh, and it was so good. Okay, so I wanted to watch it in theaters when it came out, but I'd be working. Okay, I'd be working. When you work, obviously you don't have that much time, and I'm kind of cheap, so I didn't want to spend money. So I missed out on two Godzilla movies, and then I went to go see the two movies I went to go see. Instead of the Godzilla movies this year, I've been to the movies twice, I think. I saw the Iron Claw, and I don't remember. What was the other movie I literally went to go see? I went to see it with my siblings. What movie did I go watch? I don't remember what movie I watched. So, yeah, that just tells you how important. Monkey Man. Never mind. Monkey Man was so good. So, the Iron Claw was so good, and Monkey Man was so good. But because I went and saw those two movies in theaters, I missed out on seeing Godzilla minus one in theaters. Literally, I remember I went to see Iron Claw, and I heard Godzilla minus one play. Like, I know the Godzilla theme. Yeah, it was like, and I was like, oh, I need to see this movie. But I didn't go see it in theaters. It came out on Netflix today or yesterday. It came out on Netflix like between today and yesterday. It came on Netflix. And I was like, oh, I'm watching Godzilla minus one. I have to, because I love Godzilla. I just love the giant lizard monster, whatever. Oh my gosh. I literally just finished it. I probably finished Godzilla. I just finished it probably 2 minutes and 30 seconds ago. That's when I started this video. We are at 2 minutes and 33 seconds. Before I pressed play on this, the credits was rolling on Godzilla minus one. Ooh. I don't know how well that movie did it award shows and everything. I know that the cast and everybody and the directors, they were really stunning, but it was so good. Like my heart is still racing. I'm feeling all the emotions I was feeling. Like, I can't stop smiling, and like this is one of those Godzilla movies where, like, because I feel like a key aspect of Godzilla movies as they are now, specifically when the focus is people. So, like, in certain Godzilla movies, because Godzilla movies always kind of tackle similar concepts, some of them, the focus is not necessarily like, especially older ones, it's not necessarily like the perseverance of humans, of humanity or whatever. But like Shin Godzilla and Godzilla minus one, a big aspect of like the whole story is human perseverance. Like, this is like in Shin Godzilla, obviously, it was Godzilla was just a man-made disaster, right? But in Godzilla minus one, this is like it's like such a unique way of like thinking about Godzilla. But Godzilla minus one is really, to me, I haven't read anything about Godzilla minus one because I was like, I need to watch the movie first. So I've been just avoiding everything besides clips of it on Twitter. And by clips, it's actually just GIFs. So just Godzilla looking cool going through the water. That's all I was seeing on Twitter about it, or X, whatever we're calling it. That was all I was seeing, and I was like, okay, I need to see this movie just because of how good it looks. But oh my gosh, the Godzilla, to me, in Godzilla minus one is 100% the representation of human grief and anger. I think part of it, is taking place in 1946, right after World War II, and we're following what is his name, Shikishima. That sounds like the wrong name. It probably is, but we're following his story after being like a kamikaze pilot. But you know, kamikaze pilots, what are they supposed to do? Yeah, he didn't do that. And he ran away, and it felt like cowardice and da 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 da. But then he meets Godzilla at the end of World War II for the first time. This is before Godzilla is really like Godzilla, right? And I felt like the end of World War II, having that be like Godzilla's first appearance, yeah. Godzilla is human grief and anger because it's taking place in Japan. They were just nuked, literally just nuked Hiroshima, Nagasaki. Yeah, that happened. And then they had to retreat from the war. So basically, from what I understand from the history classes I paid attention in, Japan was devastated, obviously. Devastated. But it was almost like they fought a war for no reason, right? They fought so hard and so many people died for what? Not defending the actions of the Japanese military and government during World War II. Duh. I'm talking about the citizens. These people, they're like, the people are just passive participants in war. Like, they're not active participants, and especially not the like the actual soldiers. Never mind what they're told to do, but they want to go back to their families. Okay, the devastation of the citizens during World War II in all the countries except for United States. The war was not on our lands, obviously, right? But the situation like that is gonna build up an incredible amount of grief and anger. And like, what can you like? It was so good. Okay, so having Godzilla show up at the end of the war, and he's little. He's not big giant Godzilla at the end of the war. He's tiny. He's terrorizing the mechanics in Shikishima on Odu Island, okay? Having the fish float up, like the dead fish, the deep sea fish float up, I think that was a nice way to show him as an omen. Be like, oh, when you see dead fish, there goes Gojira. Yeah, I like that. That was cute. But because that puts him in the same ancient creature aspect of himself that he holds, like, throughout most Godzilla stories, is just that ancient deep sea creature. So having a story about Godzilla, you know, appearing or whatever with the showing of the dead fish is very interesting, and I like that. But you know, even though in every story he is a creature, and he will, like, they still mention it in Godzilla minus one, they like point out like they were playing the predator sounds and all that to show how he's a top predator or whatever. Because especially the American Godzilla movies. So what is it? Although like Godzilla and Kong, those are specifically about Godzilla being a creature. Like those are about Godzilla being an animal. I like it still, obviously, but what I like the most is how Godzilla minus one is handling Godzilla as an animal, but also as a representation of like the grief and anger that I keep mentioning, but obviously I feel like it's an amalgamation of emotions. Um, an amalgamation of emotions that people would have at the end of a devastating war. So, you know, Shikishima throughout the whole movie is still holding on to the fact that he was a coward, you know. He wanted to live at the end of the war. He didn't want to sacrifice himself for his country. And he also didn't sacrifice himself for those men on the island when he first met Godzilla. But it's like, it wasn't really a sacrificial situation. Like, should he have sacrificed himself? And then there's that whole, it's a whole like subplot story about forgiveness and self-forgiveness, which I really like. And okay, it's just so good. Having Godzilla grow in size in 1946, and then having him basically terrorize the citizens of a country that are trying to pick themselves back together, having like Shikishima and his neighbor, what is it, Samoki, I don't know, that's not her name, I know that's not her name, but having them still living in their dilapidated like neighborhood, but they have nice houses like just in pieces around it, like built up around it, but there's still debris in the area. And like him building a family, but him never acknowledging that they were his family, telling his daughter, that was his baby, not to call him dad. That's the issue. That's the problem. Having Noriko, that's her name, like distance herself from him, even though they raised the whole family together. Having her distance herself from him by getting a job and stuff, because you know, she wasn't distancing herself, but she was almost like trying to give him space to figure out his problems, which was his PTSD and all of that from the war. Like, it was so good. It was so good. Like, it was so good. And not having the scientist plan actually work, like, yeah, that was good. And I don't even know what I came on here to say. What am I trying to say? Besides that movie was so good, and I will literally restart it right now on the TV. It was so good. It was so good. But yeah, like, Godzilla was definitely grief and anger, or just like grief in general, because part of grief is anger. And like that, you also see that through Tachibana, the mechanic, the fighter jet mechanic, because initially he was angry with Shikishima, but that anger dissipated pretty quick. He didn't want him to he didn't want him to die. He wanted him to live his life and avenge the people that had been sacrificed to Godzilla, basically, without sacrificing himself. You know, that is why he put the seat ejector or whatever in the fighter jet, right? And yeah, like, he gave him the choice, but he was just hoping and praying that he took it. He didn't force him to, you know. It was just so good. It was so good. If you haven't seen Godzilla Minus One and you have Netflix, you need to watch it. You need to watch it now. If you're watching this and you haven't seen Godzilla Minus One, you need to watch it now on Netflix. And like, if you're watching this and you watched it and you like the movie, and do you agree with the whole grief and anger, the grief, Godzilla's grief part, especially because like the way it ended. Um, I won't tell you because I just said people that don't know how it ended to watch the movie. So I guess I won't spoil it. But yes, I just love Godzilla movies. Oh, I just love Godzilla movies, and this is one of the best ones I've ever watched, and I don't even know how to think. Like, it was so good. It was literally so good, and my heart is racing. My heart is racing. I feel so good, especially like, I just love like perseverance stories, or I don't even know what to call them. I love. I don't even know. The movie might have a giant monster in it, but at the end of the day, it's about people. It's about the resilience of humanity in multiple ways. Like after the war, how resilient the Japanese people are, and how they have rebuilt their homes, and they're reestablishing their families, and they're moving on from like the insanity that is World War II, you know? And then also like the people, like all the people, the Navy people and all that, the ones that did help, you know? They're that movie is so good. Anyways, bye.